Hello everyone and welcome back to another Solidworks lecture. So for this one we're going to be moving from advanced mates to the mechanical mate side. So for those of my classes I've prepared a assembly for you to work with on the mechanical mates. So be sure that you bring this in not in an assembly file but you open it directly. Because you bring in an assembly file into another assembly file, it's going to import it as a static part. You won't be able to move the individual parts within that assembly around. It'll basically work like a sub-assembly in a higher assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this assembly, this gear assembly. And we have a few components in here. So we've got a couple miter gears. We've got a rack and pinions, and we also have a camshaft. So we're going to be going over those mechanical mates. So let's start right here. So under mates, I've got mechanical mates. I've got cam, shaft, hinge, gear, rack and pinion, screw, and U-joint. So for this lecture, we're only going over rack and pinion gears and cams. So for a gear mate, you want to grab two circular surfaces. Doesn't matter what, because you're going to manually input the gear ratio. So for this one, I'm going to select this surface and this surface. And it's going to import the ratio as the diameters of the surface that you've selected. But it's always best to go ahead and manually input them. So this is going to be a 1-to-1 gear ratio. So I'm going to go 1 to 1. And I'll hit OK. And now if I rotate it, they're going to rotate together. Let's continue on. So I'm going to now put another gear ratio between this surface and this shaft. So make this gear mate. I want this to be 1-to-1. Now I want to click on reverse because I want it to rotate with the gear. So let's go ahead and hit OK. It's kind of hard to really see it. Actually, no, it's going in the wrong way. So I'm going to go back into the mates and I'm going to uncheck that reverse so it's rotating in the right way. So okay, now the shaft is rotating with the gear. Alright, let's move on. Let's go ahead and attach this gear to the shaft. So I'm going to go another gear mate. I'll select this surface and I'll select this surface as well. And I'm going to put in a 1-to-1 gear ratio. I don't want it to be reversed. I want to make sure that it's rotating in a way that makes sense now. So start rotating this gear. It rotates that first miter gear properly, and this miter gear in the back is also rotating properly. So let's move on. Now we've got a little bit of a different situation here. So we've got a much larger gear and a smaller gear. So we're going to have a gear ratio that's not exactly 1-to-1. So I'm going to go ahead and find this particular part number off my master car. Let's take a look. Let me go and pull that up real quick. So let me go. I'll input it off page. So this is part number. Let's see, 6867K410. Let's look that up. 6867K410. We'll search for that. We pull it up. So take a look at this. The pitch diameter is 1. So whenever you're dealing with gears, there's a couple really important bits of information. First one is going to be the pitch. The pitch is the number of teeth divided by the pitch diameter. As you can see, it's demonstrated right here. It's about halfway down the teeth of the gears. So basically that's where the gears are going to be interfacing with each other. So 16 total teeth divided by 1 diameter gives us a pitch of 16. So in order to know that these two gears are going to match together, the pitches have to be the same. So I'm going to guess, I think this is going to be a pitch diameter of 3, but let's just double check it. So this part number is 6867K520. Let's go ahead and pull that up. We'll take a look at the product detail. Okay, so the pitch diameter is 3, and we see that the pitch is also 16, so we know the gears are going to mesh. So we're going to want to have a gear ratio of 1 to 3. So before I do that, I'm going to kind of line this gear up so it's meshing well. Looks nice and neat and professional. That looks like it's good. Now I'm going to put the gear ratio in. So I'm going to go mate, mechanical mates, gear. I'll select this surface and this surface. So for this first one, I'm going to put 1, and the second one, I'm going to put 3. And I'll hit OK. Now let's see if they rotate properly. And they do. So let's go ahead and keep going. We're going to go ahead and put another gear ratio in between this gear and this shaft. So gear, this, and this at a ratio of 1 to 1. Okay. It's kind of hard to see, but it's definitely rotating in the right direction. So now we're going to move on to this cam. So let's go ahead and put another gear ratio in between this shaft and the cam at 1 to 1. 0.5 will do the trick, but I'm just going to put 1 to 1 in. I'll hit OK. Now the cam should be moving. And it does. It rotates in a way that makes sense. So now I'm going to introduce the cam mate, where it'll have this shaft go up and down along the surface. So let's zoom in really close to this shaft. You're going to notice that there's a point here. So in order for a cam mate to work, it's a point that rides along on a surface. You don't want to use surface-to-surface cam mates. That's not going to work out well. It's always best to go ahead and use a point. So I'm going to click on cam. So for the cam path, I'm going to select this surface. It's going to go all the way around. And it's the cam follower, I'm going to grab this point. And that's going to bring it in line with the surface. And I'll hit OK. And now when I rotate, the shaft will follow along on the cam. It's kind of maybe finicky because of the angle that I'm doing at. Now if I do it over here, that'll work a lot better. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at this rack and pinion. So let's go ahead and click on the rack and pinion mate. So let's see. I got the rack as this edge. You want to grab an edge, and you want to grab the circular surface. Pinion pitch diameter. So let's go ahead, and I believe the pinion pitch diameter is 3. So I'll hit 3, and I'll hit OK. Now let's see if it moves right. It looks like it's moving at the right speed, but it's moving in the wrong direction now. Let's go back into the rack and pinion mate. We're going to reverse it. And now I bet it'll move nice and smooth. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video. Please hit that like button and subscribe to get more content such as this. And I'll see you around next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.